hello, hello, hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello. And welcome back to my channel. Or welcome if you're new. I haven't filmed in a while. A lot's been going on. I'm actually getting over COVID right now. So if I seem a little loopy or off, that's probably why. I hope all of you are doing well. And today's video is going to be a book review. These are just going to be a couple of the books that I've read recently. And then at the end, I'm going to talk about the book that I'm currently reading and books that I want to read in the future. So there's going to be lots of tapping, page turning, maybe some synopses, readings, and just my opinions on the books that I've read recently and my excitement for the new books that I want to read. So if you're interested in that, please keep on watching. So to start off with, I read House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig. This is what that looks like. And this is like a grim fairy tale retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses. It is very dark. I mean, definitely not the darkest retelling that I've heard of or read, but it's graphic. It's a bit graphic. It made me want to throw up a couple of times, but it was really good in a weird way. I felt like the romance was a bit, I don't want to say far-fetched, but it just seemed kind of rushed at the end. Like I didn't feel connected to the couple. Like the story would have been completely good on its own, even without the romance. Like the romance didn't really add or subtract anything from the story. It just was kind of thrown in there. But I really loved the main character's journey through all of this, and it showed a lot about like mental health and grief and life. And I thought that a lot of the messages were really beautiful, and the scenery and the setting is really beautiful. If you like anything like coastal or like winter vibes, coastal winter vibes, then I think you'll really enjoy this. And if you like the 12 Dancing Princesses story, I think you might enjoy this retelling. So that was the first one I wanted to talk about. The second one is The Ash Princess, and this is what that looks like. And this is by Laura Sebastian. And this book follows a former princess called Theodosia, and she is essentially captured by a tyrant king who took over her country and now sits on her late mother's throne, and he is awful. He uses her as an example to try and crush any type of rebellion. Anytime there is any type of uprising, he publicly humiliates her, publicly harms her. There's a lot of violence in this. A lot of trigger warnings for this. She goes through a lot. The people around her go through a lot. So be wary of that. It's a really good story, and the romance in this is interesting. It kind of plays on a common trope of like forbidden love, but I think that it plays out well. I'm almost finished with the second book of this series. But yeah, if you're interested in something with like forbidden love or love triangles, because there is a love triangle in this one, and elemental magic, because they draw their magic from crystals that are mined, this could be something that you'll enjoy. I did enjoy the first book. The second book, it took me a while to get into, but towards the end of the second book, it kind of starts going along faster, I should say, and it's less like political heavy. I like political books, but the way that the politics are written in this is kind of like, it kind of drudges on sometimes. But yeah, that is The Ash Princess by Laura Sebastian. And the next book, I read the entire series in 3 days. I barely slept. I was obsessed with this, and I still am. This is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I cannot say enough good things about this story. I've actually had this in my library for a couple years, and I can't believe I didn't pick it up before. I'm like kicking myself now, like why didn't I pick it up? But this follows our main character, Evangeline Fox, and it kind of starts out as like a Cinderella type story where, you know, her father's died and she lives with her stepmother, her evil stepmother, and her seemingly nice stepsister. She ends up not being so nice, but sorry for that little spoiler. And she just really enjoys working in her late father's shop. And the beginning challenge is that she's in love with this boy, and he is then engaged to her stepsister, and she thinks that he has been cursed. So she goes to one of the fates, which is like the gods in this story, and she asks him for help. And that's kind of where the story kicks off from there. This story, the love story, oh my gosh. It's been a while. I think I would say since ACOTAR that I've loved a story this much. And the first book was amazing. The second book, The Ballad of Never After, which I know is a lot of people's favorites, it's also my favorite. The writing in this is beautiful. The places that you go to with this one, they're just stunning, absolutely stunning. Stephanie Garber did an excellent job with this. The writing, the emotion that this evokes, it's amazing. The last book was amazing too, but the imagery and the way that this story pulls you into it and makes you feel what the characters are feeling, 10 out of 10, would recommend. And of course, I finished it with the last book, A Curse of True Love. Definitely recommend if you are in a reading slump to read that series, because I was in a reading slump and it yanked me right out of it. So on to the book that I'm currently reading, which is Bow Before the Elf Queen by J.M. Curl. I'm about a little more than halfway through. This follows Leala, who is a elf who has kind of been stowed away because an evil elf king forced a magician to bind her to his son when they were literal babies, like just born. And her parents didn't want that, so they got her to escape. They gave her to one of the maids, and she's been living in like a mortal human village for the past years. I forget how old she is. I think she's like 20 something, but she's been there this whole time, and her parents died. They were murdered by the king after he obviously found out, and this kind of follows her story, and she's still bound to the prince, and of course he comes to get her, and their love story ensues. I can't say too much because I haven't finished it, but I've also stopped reading it a couple of times because I lost interest in it. It plays on a lot of tropes that I don't particularly enjoy, but it also gives Lords of the Rings vibes, that kind of elvish world. So if you're into that, I think you would probably like this. Sometimes it's hard to get it's hard to get past the I'm not like other girls tropes that are really heavily played on with Leala. Like, I think at one point she said, she was being snarky towards the prince's sister, and she was like, of course I know how to fight. All you know how to do is be in a pretty dress. And it's just kind of this attack on femininity, like it's a crime to like dresses and stuff. Just the way it plays out. She's very much so the I'm not like other girls type of trope. Like, I can fight. And it's like, yeah, that's awesome, but like, stop tearing other people down, you know? I don't know. It's just icky. It gives me the ick when characters do that. Like, I like a strong female lead, but not when it's at the cost of like cutting through femininity and things like that, or traditional femininity, I should say, because fighting can be feminine too. Like, there are no rules, but yeah. So if you don't mind those, I would recommend this, but if those really, really bother you, don't read this. And now on to the books that I want to read in the future, in the near future. The first one is When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. I've heard mixed reviews about this. Some people say it was too hard to understand, or they just flat out didn't enjoy it. I don't know if there's a romance in here. It's more of like an epic fantasy. The art is beautiful, though. The back says, as an assassin for the rebellion group Fjord Da'ath, Rave's job is to complete orders and never get caught. When a rival bounty hunter turns her world upside down, blood spills, hearts break, and Rave finds herself imprisoned by the Guild of Nobles, a group of powerful fae who turn her into a political statement. Crushed by the loss of his great love, Kahan Vegar took the head of a king and donned his melted crown. Now on a tireless quest to quell the never-ebbing ache in his chest, a clue lures him into the capital's high-security prison, where he stumbles upon the imprisoned Rave. Echoes of the past race between them. There's more to their story than meets the eye, but some truths are too poisonous to swallow. That sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty good to me. It's also very thick, but I love it. It's floppy. It's nice. Oh, and it has nice like art on each chapter. Cool. Alright. The next one that I want to read, I've heard recommended by a lot of people, and that is The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. This is very much so enemies to lovers, and apparently a very, very slow burn. Apparently there is a bridge that kind of controls the kingdom, and the main character is sent to marry the king who owns this bridge, or the prince, and she's sent to kill him so that her kingdom can control the bridge. But of course, they probably end up falling in love. I don't know yet because I haven't read it, but I've heard really good things. The next one is Caraval. This one I've also heard a lot of mixed reviews about. A lot of people love it just for nostalgic reasons. I just really want to read it because I loved her other books, but a lot of people say it's not up to par with Once Upon a Broken Heart, so hopefully it is, but if not, I'm just happy to be in that world again. Next one is The Sisters of the Winter Wood by Rena Rossner. This one I saw in Barnes & Noble, and the synopsis just sounded really interesting. It says, in a remote village surrounded by vast forests, Liba and Leia have been raised on the honeyed scent of their mommy's babka and the low rumble of their tati's prayers. But when dark forces threaten their village, the sisters discover a family secret passed down through generations, faced with a magical heritage they never knew existed. Liba and Leia realize the old fairy tales are true and could save them all. I also like the sister trope, like two sisters coming together and working towards a similar goal. It's interesting because I think there's a lot of poetry in this as well, because it's kind of formatted like that. So, and it's also a good floppy paperback, which I love. Oh, and it's blurbed by Madeline Miller, which I love her. She said, a gripping, powerful story of family, sisterhood, and two young women trying to find their way in the world. I gulped it down. Excellent. So I'm excited for that. The other one I've seen on social media a lot. It's called A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed. That's what it looks like. I think the cover art is really pretty. The synopsis, it doesn't have a synopsis, I don't think. Oh, it does. Okay, it says, Effie Sayre has always believed in fairy tales. She had no choice. Since childhood, she's been haunted by visions of the Fairy King. She's found solace only in the pages of the Angharad, Emrys Mirrodin's beloved epic about a mortal girl who falls in love with the Fairy King and then destroys him. Effie's tattered copy is all that's keeping her afloat through her first term at the prestigious Illyrian Architecture College, so when Mirrodin's family announces a contest to redesign the late author's estate, Effie feels certain this is her destiny. But Haraeth Manor is an impossible task, a musty, decrepit house on the brink of crumbling into a hungry sea, and when Effie arrives, someone else has already made a temporary home there. Preston Hellery, a stodgy young literature scholar, is determined to prove Effie's favorite author is a fraud. As the two rival students investigate the reclusive author's legacy, piecing together clues through his letters, books, and diaries, they discover that the house's foundation isn't the only thing that can't be trusted. There are dark forces, both mortal and magical, conspiring against them, and the truth may bring them both ruin. So, sounds interesting. I've heard a lot of good things, and it's pretty short. So, and from what I know, I think it is a standalone. And the last one is A River Enchanted. The last one is A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. This one says on the back, it starts with a letter and an ominous journey across dark waters. 10 years after being sent away to the mainland to become a bard, Jack Tamerlane is summoned home to Cadence. Girls are going missing from the island, and Adaria, his childhood nemesis and the future leader of the clan, believes Jack is the only one who can find them. The elemental spirits that dwell in every breath of air, splash of water, blade of grass, and flicker of fire find mirth in the lives of the humans, and the bard's music is the only way to summon them and ask that the girls be returned. Yet, as Jack and Adara get closer to solving the mystery, it becomes apparent that an older, darker secret about Cadence lurks beneath the surface, and no harp song may be strong enough to stop it. This one I've also heard a lot of good things about, and I believe this is a 2-book series. Also very pretty. Alright, so that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know if you've read any of these books, if you recommend any of these books. I'd love to know your thoughts down below in the comments. And thank you again for watching. I hope to come out with a new video soon. Have a lovely day. Bye now.